Hey everyone, today we're going to fire up the DeLorean, punch it to 88, and head back in time. We're going to figure out exactly why the movies of the 1980s have such an unshakable grip on our culture, even all these decades later. You ready? Let's do this.
You know, the 80s, it was an era you could almost touch. It was defined by its artifacts, right? The thrill of renting that big, clunky VHS tape, the roar of a packed theater for a new blockbuster, and of course, the perfect, quotable one-liner from your favorite action hero. This wasn't just a decade. For so many of us, it was a feeling, a shared cultural memory we all built one movie at a time.
But that gets us to the big question. What was the magic formula here? Was it the stories, the stars, the special effects? What did the 80s do so right that its films feel just as vibrant and exciting today as they did way back then?
Okay, so to get our answer, we actually have to rewind the tape a little bit further. See, the movies of the 1980s didn't just pop up out of nowhere. They were a direct reaction to the decade that came right before it, a time when cinema had a totally different vibe.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The 70s gave us these incredible, complex films, but they were often pretty dark, pessimistic, adult-focused, reflecting the cynical mood of the time. But as the 80s rolled in, bringing this new wave of optimism, audiences were just hungry for something different. And then trailblazers like Jaws and Star Wars came along and proved there was this massive appetite for grand, escapist adventures that the whole family could enjoy together. Hollywood saw the future, and believe me, the future was fun.
And that brand new path led directly to the birth of the modern blockbuster as we know it. All of a sudden, going to the movies wasn't just something you did on a Saturday night anymore. No, it became a full-blown cultural event, a phenomenon that everyone had to be a part of.
And what that really means is that the 80s absolutely perfected the event film. These weren't just movies, they were experiences designed to be talked about on the playground, at the office, around the dinner table, everywhere. You simply had to see them.
And just look at this list. I mean, come on. These are the absolute titans of that blockbuster formula. These films became so much more than just hits. They were cultural touchstones. They literally defined childhoods. They sold millions of toys, and they created these incredible memories that have lasted a lifetime. They were just unavoidable.
But it wasn't only about those massive family adventures. The 80s also forged a totally new kind of movie star, creating these heroic archetypes that, let's be honest, are still legendary today.
First up, you had the one-man army. This was the era of the seemingly invincible hero. Guys like Stallone and Schwarzenegger, they weren't just actors, they were forces of nature. They were taking on entire armies with nothing but huge guns, even bigger muscles, and a non-stop supply of explosive one-liners.
And then, at the same time, you get the perfect counterbalance. The buddy cop movie. The formula was so simple, but it was absolutely electric. You just take two partners who are complete opposites, throw them into a high-stakes case, and just watch the sparks fly. That chemistry between guys like Gibson and Glover, or Eddie Murphy and Judge Reinhold, pure movie magic.
And this quote just absolutely nails the appeal. The audience wasn't just watching these movies. They were all in, embracing the spectacle. They loved the over-the-top, unapologetic, and sometimes magically ridiculous fun of it all.
But here's the thing. The magic wasn't just happening in the movie theater. At the exact same time, there was this technological revolution going on that would fundamentally change our relationship with movies forever. The VCR and the video rental store, they created this whole new culture. Suddenly, the act of choosing a movie was part of the fun itself. It was a ritual, right? The hunt through the aisles, the big debate with your family or your friends over the perfect pick for Friday night, and of course, the golden rule, be kind, rewind.
And you have to remember, in a world before endless trailers and online reviews, this was often your only guide. The hand-painted art from masters like Drew Struzan wasn't just advertising, it was a masterpiece. It made a promise of adventure, mystery, and excitement, selling you the entire film on that feeling alone. So, okay, let's put all these pieces together. What are the core ingredients here? What really explains the potent, enduring magic of 80s cinema?
Well, it really boils down to this unique formula. First, you had grand escapist stories that just felt huge. Then you had practical effects, aliens, monsters, and explosions that felt real and tangible because, well, they were real. You had characters that were instantly iconic. And maybe, just maybe most importantly, you had a sense of genuine mystery.
And that right there gets to the absolute heart of it. This was an era of discovery.
Major plot twists could genuinely shock an entire theater because nobody had seen them spoiled on their social media feeds. This created these powerful, collective memories and a sense of wonder that's just incredibly hard to replicate today.
And that kind of brings us to our final thought. In our modern world of streaming algorithms, endless content, and a 24/7 spoiler cycle, is it even possible to capture that kind of lightning in a bottle again? Can a movie ever truly feel like a universal, mysterious event for everyone all at once? I don't know, but it's something to think about.